Yes, guys, what's happening? And welcome back to the channel and welcome to the live stream for match reactions and player ratings to the Carabao Cup final yesterday at Wembley, where unfortunately for us, Chelsea suffered penalty shootout heartbreak as Kepa skied his penalty over the bar and Chelsea suffered an 11-10 defeat on penalties. A ridiculous shootout, really. All 20 outfield players scoring. Someone had to miss, and unfortunately for us, it was Kepa. And that was that for the Carabao Cup final. But I think it's a performance that we can be very proud of. But once again, familiar failings for Chelsea. And the Achilles heel is the finishing yesterday in front of goal. 3 unbelievable opportunities. And quite frankly, that finishing is criminal. It is unforgivable. It really is. And in the big finals, those sort of opportunities don't come by very often. And to have not 1, not 2, but 3 gilt-edged opportunities and to pass up every single one, you're going to get punished, particularly against a top-level opposition like Liverpool. So it makes it harder to take the fact that we've only got ourselves to blame. But delighted to be joined by George as always. Mate, it's less than 24 hours since the defeat, but this one, I found this one really tough to take yesterday. Leaving the stadium, walking back down Wembley Way of Liverpool celebrating in there, the arch lit up in red. It wasn't the best place to be, but yeah, frustrating and hurts because we did more than enough to probably win about 3 or 4 finals yesterday, and we let ourselves down in the crucial moments.
Yeah, and it's the hope that kills you, isn't it? Unfortunately, I mean, going into the game, I tended to agree with a lot of the experts and the fans alike that Liverpool just edged it as favourites based on form and the fact that we hadn't played well for a few months. But you know, cup final at Wembley, Chelsea pick up trophies for fun recently, and you just, especially as the game panned out, like you mentioned, with the gilt edge opportunities, and it is the hope that kills you. And we played the perfect game in many ways. I loved the Tuchel setup. I thought he was brave benching Lukaku. I thought it was the right option. I thought the subs were done at the right time. You know, we had such an early opportunity to take the lead, and I mean, we're going to get into those chances, I'm sure. But you said it, and you summed it up perfectly with the pre-match in the last YouTube video, that those chances, when they are presented to you, particularly in a cup final, you have to take them. It's as simple as that. And you know, I think it's fair to say that either side were worthy winners on the day, because Liverpool, of course, as you'd expect, had more of the ball, did, you know, push us back and put us on a very low block at times where we would sometimes it was pinball in there, but we suffered, we got out of it, we broke well, we created the opportunities. And again, just, you know, so simple. And it's just so frustrating because we'll look back at that final and think, we had the opportunities very similar actually to that last cup final we were both at when we got to the League Cup final against City. You know, City dominated the game. We had the great chance with Kante that put over the bar, and you just think, you know, if you take those chances, you win those games. And unfortunately, when it goes to penalties, and like you mentioned, with you know, 20 all outfield players scoring, it's you know, I've got no blame there whatsoever. But yeah, it still hurts me. I mean, I was watching it from home, but you know, up on my feet, and just I was gutted for the whole. It was a sleepless night, to be honest with you. What could have been.
I mean, yeah, I just want to say that the fans yesterday in the ground were absolutely outstanding in the Chelsea end. You know, full support for the boys, and they did their best. And you know, as we've said, you know, ultimately when it gets to penalties, it's a lottery, and the harsh reality is someone has to miss their penalty. Yeah. You know, and that's just the way it goes. And, you know, there's no blame on Kepa there. He was brought on to say for the penalties. That would have been agreed pre-match, I would imagine. And it's not just a decision taken in the moment. It's a decision taken based on a load of data, a load of analysis. You know, the fact that Kepa's obviously got the penalty saving record, the fact he's done it in 2 rounds before in this competition, did it in the Super Cup and stuff. You know, sometimes that decision works, sometimes it doesn't, and you live and die by the sword. But you can't criticize Thomas Tuchel for making that decision. He made that decision with the best interests of winning the match. Didn't think, oh, let's put Kepa on and we're going to worsen our chances of winning. He did that because that was the right thing to do. You could argue in hindsight that perhaps Mendy was having an unbelievable game and Liverpool might have been quite glad to see him go off. But when it comes to penalties, I know Mendy made a couple saves in the African Cup of Nations shootout final, but that's probably one of his big weaknesses, is saving penalties. So I don't think there should be any blame on Thomas Tuchel whatsoever for making that decision. But But yeah, George, back to the game itself. I mean, for a 0-0, it was one of the best games I've watched in a long, long time. It was really good, end to end, plenty of chances. It flowed really well. And yeah, I mean, we touched on it. Thomas Tuchel, again, when it comes to one-off cup finals, he just seems to go up a level. And we seem to find levels of performance that haven't existed in the league for a good while now in the one-off cup games. And again, I think it further highlights that we perhaps are at the moment very much a cup side, that we can turn it on for one game or for a small run of games, which is obviously very beneficial in the cups, not so beneficial in the long run of the league. But I mean, yesterday for me, mate, I thought it was outstanding. The manager, tactical masterclass again. And we've played Liverpool 3 times this season. And I think despite the fact we've not won any of those games, he's, I think, out-coached and out-tacted Jurgen Klopp in all 3 of those games. What did you make of the setup yesterday? I mean, some big choices to be made. First of all, Edouard Mendy in for Kepa. Obviously, Kepa playing in every round of the competition to get there. Look, it's very harsh to drop your keeper when he's played, every round, and he's one of the main reasons you're actually in the final in the first place. But as he alluded to in the pre-match press conference, he said there's no room for sentiment in these decisions, and I think that basically let the cat out of the bag that Kepa wasn't going to play this game. But as it turned out, mate, Edouard Mendy, one of his best performances in a Chelsea shirt yesterday, and pretty much showing why he's the best goalkeeper in the world. So ultimately, I guess you could say that was probably the right decision from the off.
Oh yeah, I mean, fans are fickle, aren't they? And they want the stories and the fairy tale. And we wanted Kepa to play because we thought that he merited it based on getting us to that final. But when you play finals, Chelsea do it more often than most that you play your best players. Therefore, despite the differences in opinion with fans, I think the number one goalkeeper we know is Edouard Mendy. And I thought it was his best game in a Chelsea shirt yesterday. You think about the level of the opposition in the occasion itself. I mean, even the Champions League final, he didn't have many saves to make. That one, I mean, the double save when Mendy, when Mane, and I've questioned his shot stopping, thinking it's not as good as perhaps Kepa, but outstanding yesterday.
And even that one from the Van Dijk header right at the end as well, that is a phenomenal save. I mean, only really one small mistake on his behalf where he slips with that clearance and Liverpool through on goal. And actually, Salah does slightly fuck that up. And I know Thiago Silva gets back and he clears it, but that is going wide. But yeah, definitely the right decision there. Would you also agree the other right decisions, obviously Lukaku on the bench? I think that was kind of going to be obvious from what we saw in midweek. And then also I feel right decision not to throw Reece James straight back into the mixer as well. So the team was as we expected with our tried and tested back 3 in those big games. And I mean, let's get into it, George. It was a really positive start from Chelsea, and the first of those gilt edge opportunities, Christian Pulisic, well, you say missing, obviously the keeper saves it, but it was a really bright start. I mean, what are your thoughts on the fast start from us, and then that opportunity? I know we said that out of the 3 big chances, that was probably the least worst miss, if that makes sense, but it's still a massive opportunity out the blocks in a cup final, and it's just so painful watching us give up these opportunities.
Yeah, and I was almost expecting a better start from Chelsea for some reason. We do tend to start games very well in big games. We did it again against City in the Champions League final. We had big opportunities early doors in that match, and we did it again yesterday, settled much better and took the game to Liverpool straight from the off, with the overloads with Havertz, Mount and Pulisic interchanging positions, which they do so well. And I thought it was right to go with them where we needed to have a high press, and a bit more interchangeable movement up in the top 3 rather than a pinpoint man in Lukaku. But I think people sometimes forgive the earlier chances because people aren't settled into the game and you've got all the game to go. But actually, if you isolate that chance, it is a really good opportunity. I think it's a fizz ball in from Azpilicueta on the right hand side, and he makes good contact with it. And I think if it doesn't get a little bit of air, I think the keeper struggles to save that. I think it just bounces up and the keeper's able to save it with his foot. But just a perfect opportunity to take the lead. And I know there's a lot of time to go, so you can't ever say, well, the outcome would have been that Chelsea had won had we taken that chance. But it's been the story of our whole season and for years, Chelsea not being clinical. We touched on it, by text at the end of the game. If that's Drogba, that's a goal. As simple as that. it doesn't matter how early in the game it is. You need to take those chances when you're on top. And unfortunately, we didn't.
Yeah, well, as simple as that. I mean, we had that great opportunity from Christian Pulisic. Liverpool, fair play to them. They did obviously have some opportunities in that first half. I mean, clearly a tactic of theirs was to target Trevor Chalobah, not played for 6 to 8 weeks. By the way, he had an outstanding game considering he's not played for so long. I thought it was fantastic. A couple of times he was caught out. Mane and Luis Diaz down that side, getting in behind him. But on the whole, I thought Chalobah defended very well. But it was obviously a clear tactic there from Liverpool. And Liverpool had a few moments in that first half, George, particularly that one that we talk about now, the Edouard Mendy double save. It was about half an hour in. It's a shot from Naby Keita from just outside the box. And you could, if you're being critical, you perhaps say that Mendy will be a bit disappointed in himself for parrying it into a dangerous position where it falls to the feet of Sadio Mane. And you're just thinking, oh, this has got goal written all over it. And somehow Mendy gets down and makes an unbelievable save. I mean, it was phenomenal. I don't think I've quite seen a double save like it. No,
and Liverpool after that initial 5-10 minutes really showed why they're the best team in the world at the moment on current form. The two fullbacks creating all sorts of havoc with the balls coming into the box. The front three with so much pace. I thought actually we nullified Mane and Salah really well yesterday. Just give huge credit. I thought Alonso, you mentioned Chalobah. I thought Alonso had an outstanding game yesterday as well. I didn't even realise Salah was playing in some parts of the game. Surprised they took Mane off, but again, I think Diaz had a great game, and obviously they wanted to change it a little bit. But yeah, Edouard Mendy, an outstanding double save. And there were moments where we knew against Liverpool we were going to have to suffer and give up possession and get a bit lucky at times. I mean, that's the game of football. You have to just accept that they're going to create chances. We're going to be at death's door. I mean, clearances off the line, pinball in there at times when James came on late on as the game got stretched. But I thought we counter-attacked really well, and we did what Chelsea do so well, which is just nullify teams that have their main outlets, stay compact and just pick our moments.
Yeah, no, we did. And you touched on it. I thought Marcus Alonso and Antonio Rudiger on that left-hand side, Liverpool's right, they dealt with Mo Salah so well. I mean, he had that one opportunity from Edouard Mendy's slipped clearance in the second half. But other than that, mate, you are honestly, being there yesterday on the ground, you would have barely known that Salah was playing. We managed to keep him really quiet. But one player that did really impress me, and he's only just come in to Liverpool side, I thought Luis Diaz was phenomenal yesterday. Like, he looks a real good player, and he's going to be one of those that, he's just going to. He looks tailor-made for Liverpool. Once that front three starts to get moved on, they've already got a fantastic replacement player. I mean, George, what did you make of him yesterday? Because I was really impressed by him.
Yeah, dangerous, and he wasn't one that I was expecting to really worry about in the game, but he grew into it, and it was always going to be a tough affair with Chalobah up against him on that side. But he created some good opportunities. There was a moment where he could have pinned it into the box a bit earlier and missed his opportunity to perhaps feed someone in. But other than that, I thought he was a dangerous outlet, and you can already see Liverpool starting to make those transitions ready for the next couple of years to come. And he's certainly one to watch.
I mean, George, I was sort of heading towards the break then, obviously. Still goalless right before half time. This one's not the worst of the two from Mason Mount, but he's made a great run into the box. It's the sort of thing you'd see Frank Lampard do time and time again over the years, making that run into the box on the end of a cross and putting it into the net. I don't know what to say, because in the stadium it was bad. Watching it back on the TV, it was even worse. Like you don't get a full feel for it in the ground. It's a big opportunity. When you see it back on the TV, it's like, Jesus Christ, like what's going on? And I think it's important that, that where we're critical on players, that way it's fair across the board, because people are quite happy to go on Lukaku, going on Werner, going on Havertz for missing big opportunities and the likes of Pulisic and stuff. But because it's Mason Mount, people seem to be a bit more reserved. And the fact is, you've got to call it how it is. And his finishing yesterday, and I think his performance overall yesterday wasn't great. 2 unbelievable opportunities. Awful finishing, criminal. It's unforgivable as a top-level footballer to miss not one opportunity, but 2. What did you make of that one right before the break where he just puts it wide? It's so frustrating. It really is.
And I just wonder if in form Mason Mount takes those chances. He probably does, but he's been out the side. Again, that takes a hit on your confidence, and maybe he just, certainly with the second chance that he'll get onto, he double guesses perhaps whether as if he's in full form in the team, first name on the team sheet as he was maybe a few months back, that he buries that easily. Yeah, mate. I mean, let's not protect him. I mean, just because he's English or whatever and get on that facade. I mean, it's not good enough. And you could even argue he had another great opportunity when Havertz laid off a ball to him on the edge of the box. And he's taken too long and he's just put it straight at the goalkeeper. You could argue that was a really good opportunity. And you expect more from Mason, obviously, as we say, Mr. Chelsea. What I would say to possibly, slightly change the angle on that argument is, I think, people are saying, if Lukaku was there, he would have buried it. But I think he got himself in those positions in the first place that perhaps Lukaku doesn't make those runs. So let's give credit to Mason there. But that's where it stops for me. I think once you've made that run, you've got to, he's the first one, he's 6 yards out. He's got to finish. And the second, obviously the one you'll get onto, even more so.
But are you surprised that he started yesterday? I know he's an important player for Chelsea, but the fact that he played 15, 20 minutes in the Club World Cup final and then played no minutes. So he's not really played any minutes for kind of 2.5 weeks. I was really surprised to not see him get any minutes against Lille and then just be chucked back in. I'm not sure if he was fully fit because he obviously got subbed off and around just after 70 odd minutes. And normally he'd probably play a bit more than that if he was fully fit. He's obviously a very important player for Chelsea, but I'm of the opinion now that perhaps, I'm not sure if Mason Mount is an automatic start every week for the club at the moment.
Well, I differ from other Chelsea fans that have been on the show as well. Like for me, in big games, Mason Mount is one of my first names on the team sheet because of the things that he offers, that he even showed yesterday, even though he didn't finish, the press, the desire to close down opportunities, the drives into the box, to carry the ball forward. All of those things that perhaps we lack sometimes with a bit of urgency. I think he has that in abundance. So for me, he is a player that I would always play in an important game. But I do agree that, not having that at all, any minutes from the Lille match, he's perhaps not up to the intensity that was required yesterday, and therefore may have, again, just that element of doubt in his head that is ultimately maybe why he's missed the chances. I mean, everyone misses chances, but I actually did join the pre-match quite late, so I wasn't sure what the situation was with Hakim Ziyech. I assumed that he wasn't fit.
He was supposed to be. Well, he was supposedly meant to be fit, but wasn't involved in the squad at all. I mean, it would have been interesting to see if Mason Mount would have actually started had Hakim Ziyech been fit.
I don't think he would have.
I'm not sure he would have done, but it is what it is. But yeah, it's just interesting that having been like an absolute shoo-in when he's fit to play. I'm like, now that our other attackers are coming to the fore and playing and are playing quite well in recent weeks, despite the finishing. For me, a great footballer, but I'm not sure if he's the first name on the team sheet like he has been in the past. That's the only thing that I would say. Doesn't not taking anything away from him as a player, but I'm just not sure if he's straight in the team every week if he's fit like he has been in the past. But yeah, we get to the break 0-0, fairly even first half. We should be ahead. No changes at the break or anything, and we'll get into it now. The second miss, it comes early doors in the second half. Kai Havertz picks out Mason Mount really well. He's free in the box, and I don't know what's going through his head. I'm not sure if he tries to go for like placement over power and just gets it wrong, and it's an unbelievable miss. You couldn't want a more perfect opportunity in a cup final to score a goal, and how he's hit the post and missed that, I will just never know. And it's just the way the game panned out. It's just so hard to take that. It was there for us. It was there. George, your thoughts on that miss? Because for me, it's inexcusable to miss that.
Well, yeah, the ball gets lifted over the top and time just stands still. He had so much time, so much space, and sometimes that goes against you because you almost take too much time to decide. I think if it comes to him a bit quicker and he gets that first touch, which he does, he even gets the first touch right, which is the hardest bit, over the shoulder. And I'm convinced that because he had so much time, he just wasn't sure whether he was going to go bottom corner, whether he was going to go, away from the keeper or to the side of the guy. And in the end, he's just decided, I don't know. And again, it's fine margins, comes off actually the inside of the post.
Yeah.
But my goodness. I mean, when that chance was missed, although obviously I still had hope in the game, I remember, I don't know if I text you or text someone else, but I just remember saying, you know what, we've had the chances now, they've gone. The chances we've had to win this game are gone. And, we're going to be very lucky to end up winning this match now, because I know it's easy to say, but Salah and Mane, if they're in that position, just don't miss that opportunity.
Oh, they don't miss that. And it's, as I said at the top of the show, it's just, it's time and time again, it's the Achilles heel. Our finishing lets us down. And in particularly in the big games, in the cup finals, it will cost you. And it cost us yesterday. And this is something that needs to drastically be addressed in the summer. We have got to address the fact that no one is clinical in front of goal in this Chelsea team. And I mean, I don't know what your thoughts are on it very briefly, mate, but something's got to change in the summer. We've got to address the issue over the summer in pre-season, because it's been years, this issue. It's been highlighted a lot more recently, but this has been years for Chelsea where we are not clinical in front of goal. I mean, very briefly, mate, what do you feel needs to change in the summer and into pre-season to try and put this right for next season? So we can't go into another season with this level of criminal finishing at the club.
No, we can't. And it's scary to think that there are teams way below us that have got those talisman that we do not have. You look at Spurs with Son and Kane. I mean, they don't miss those chances yesterday. Even teams like Southampton and stuff from Bamford, teams that are really struggling down the bottom, they've got a talisman who are going to score goals. And we just don't. Yes, people chip in and out with 5-6 goals a season, but we don't have that central focus. I mean, even Manchester United, they go for Cristiano Ronaldo. 9 times out of 10, he scores those goals, and we just don't have that. But I'm unsure. I mean, do we persist with someone like a Lukaku and give him, what he needs, or do we go, or do we try and get a ready-made number 10 who's going to chip in with double figures? I don't know the answer now, but what I do agree with and what you're saying is, we play the perfect game. We did yesterday. We played the tactical masterclass from Tuchel. We created the opportunities. The manager puts it on a plate, and the players have let him down because they haven't finished and done that end point that just need obviously the hardest part in football is scoring a goal, right? But it's so frustrating when you see the perfect setup to win a final, and again we ballsed it up because we just don't have someone who can literally stick a ball in the net as easy as those opportunities were. It's criminal.
It is. I mean, ironically, that's what we signed Lukaku for. It's not quite worked out yet. Possibly it could work out. We might have a rethink in the summer in terms of personnel up in that top end of the pitch. I think there'll be some will be sold on, new players will come in. But yeah, it's something that drastically needs to be addressed in the summer, because if we're going to challenge for the league and win domestic honours, which is what we want to do, we want to dominate domestically, that needs to be sorted, and it needs to be sorted ASAP. I mean, back to the game, mate. Obviously, we saw a return for Reece James. Azpilicueta going off injured. Reece James came back on. I thought he did quite well. He looked a little bit rusty first few minutes, caught out a couple of times. But he grew into the game, and he kind of showed what we've been missing during his absence.
Yeah, he got better as the game went on. I was a lot of Chelsea fans were kind of saying, "Oh, should James start? If he's in, because he's our best right back." I disagreed with that entirely. I think to throw him in a cup final against one of the best sides in the world when you've been out for that long, and it showed in the first 5 minutes or so he played. He taking extra touch, not getting the right, power on the ball for passes, few hospital passes, few loose balls. But he did grow into the game, particularly in advanced areas, really, really showed his quality and delivery into the box. And yeah, it's obviously great to see him back, and that he didn't have, he didn't come off injured or anything like that. He got into the game and I just pray now that he's going to add some real quality as we get to the tail end of other competitions this season. But yeah, it's great to see him back. That was one of the positives from yesterday. I
mean, and as the game goes on, George, we didn't have that many other opportunities in the 90. Get to the disallowed goal now for Liverpool. About 20 odd minutes, just under 20 minutes left, and the free kick goes into the box, and Matip obviously scrambles it in. And when you're watching I don't know what it was like watching on TV, but in the ground, it's quite hard. It's quite hard to see when it's down the other end, and you're thinking, oh, "Fuck, this is exactly what we were scared of happening." Dominated the game in large parts, unbelievable opportunities, punished from a set piece. But luckily, VAR helped us out. Van Dijk was impeding Reece James, I feel, blocking him off, tugging him back. But yeah, from your perspective, mate, watching it on the TV, did it look like a clear foul, or were you quite worried that, the worst had happened again?
Well, when the goal went in, I thought that's it. We had our chances, we've blown it, and they've managed to find a way. But looking back at VAR, it wasn't a difficult decision. I think he was impeding him, and I think Neville said it was a clear ploy from them from that set piece that we're going to, try and block off one of the fullbacks so there's an extra man over, and then they can play it across the box, because it looked very well worked, and it did work. But no, it only took one look at it, and I thought, yeah, he's definitely impeded him, and they made the right decision in the end.
I mean, I just want, whilst we're on it, mate, let's just get into it. I mean, we could spend ages talking about this. We'll spend a few minutes. I'm just going to bring it up on the screen now.
Oh, please do.
It doesn't excuse the sitters that we missed yesterday, but I've got to be honest, mate. I feel that we were really hard done by on two big decisions yesterday by the officials. And what I will say is, before we get into it, I actually thought Stuart Atwell refereed the game pretty well. And he was massively let down by the I don't know how many people were in the VAR room. They obviously weren't watching the game. Obviously, no one. Must have been empty with some of the decisions they made. But again, in the stadium, it's hard to tell. But that Naby Keita one, the challenge is absolutely awful. I'll just bring it up a little bit bigger on the screen. The challenge is terrible. Look where he is. I know a still image, it can always look a bit worse, but I mean, you can almost forgive the referee sometimes for missing something in a split moment. What you cannot forgive is guys that are supposedly professional officials sitting, watching multiple replays of it and saying that, oh, no, there's nothing you need to look back at here. I mean, George, that tackle is horrendous, and it's a straight red card every day of the week.
And I haven't spoken to a lot of fans from Liverpool or Chelsea about it, but when I saw it straight away, I thought, that is a red card. That is a red card. And, people were arguing, even the commentary didn't think it was a red card. They were like, oh, it's a coming together. It was a 50-50 ball. They both finished quite high. But he's so late on him. And it doesn't, obviously he plays, the greatest. He wins an Oscar for what he was doing afterwards. Claiming that Chalobah touched him in the same way, it's absolutely ridiculous. And probably why he got away with it, because the referee played the game on when they were both on the ground. He's gone back to it, had time to process it, and thought, actually, they're both not that bad. They both got up. But I just don't know how I'd love, and I think we should really try and get a referee on our show at some point, have moments like this and say, what on earth are they watching to think that is not? And the worst thing about it wasn't even a foul.
It wasn't even a foul. Nothing.
Which is unbelievable. Can't believe it.
And Chalobah after the game, and I think it's great, and I think it's refreshing, and we need more players to do it, calling out horrendous refereeing. The guy, he had to have 6 stitches after that for that challenge. But, George, whilst we're at it, like we saw, obviously, yesterday of the Everton game, the Rodri handball in the box, absolutely blatant. VAR sit and look at it, and it's criminal. They just say, oh, nice, it's all right. I'd love it. What in any other profession, you are sacked or removed from your job for repeatedly performing below what is expected. So why, one, are these guys still got their jobs? 2, why supposedly the best product in football in terms of the Premier League, why have we got the worst level of officials possible in world football? 100, we've got the worst level of officials in world football. The guys sitting in that VAR room, I just don't know what goes on in there. I really don't. I play Wednesday night 6-a-side league locally to me. The refereeing's better in that. Like, seriously, these guys, they just stand still on the halfway line and call the game. That's better than what we're seeing in the Premier League at the moment. And, the Premier League come out, they offer an apology. It doesn't mean anything. It's pathetic. And I've seen that Everton have complained to the Premier League today about standards of officiating. I think they're incandescent with rage was their phrasing after the decision on the weekend. George, why do these people in the VAR room and officials on the pitch as well, why do they get off scot-free, free pass? They don't have to come out and face the media. They don't have to come out and face the music, face the consequences of their decisions. They just carry on, and they come back again next week. Managers have to come out. Players have to come out.
Yeah.
Why are officials so protected? And what gives them the right to not have to come out and face the music and explain why they've made certain decisions?
Well, I've had enough.
The officiating is absolutely criminal in this country. It is awful. Yeah. And the reason we've got the technology, sorry, mate, is because it's so hard to see on the pitch when stuff's moving so quickly. So you get an extra bit of help. But why wasn't, for this, for example, why wasn't he referred to the monitor? You should always just go and tell the ref to have another look at it. I just don't get it. I'm sick of it. I really am. It's unacceptable.
Yeah, and they're cowards. And a part of their role now, certainly the referees on the pitch, they should have to, just like it is, it is the right, and the managers have to give a press conference, regardless if they want to leave 10 seconds in, that's fine. They have to be there because of the TV rights and all the rest of it. It's part of their duty as a job. Therefore, the referees, after the game, if decisions like this come out, they should have to stand there and comment that the press give the questions. Look, why wasn't that given? Or explain to us what happened through that process. We see it in rugby with, you can actually hear the voiceover of the VAR or whatever talking to the official. They should have that. It is such a disservice to football, to the fans and to the players who are getting this sort of officiating. It is disgusting. And I don't know how no referee could come out and actually back some of these decisions and say, and be blue in the face and say, yeah, that's not a red card. The problem you've got is the reason why they don't get sanctioned for it is because even if you do still images or whatever, it's still all open to interpretation of how you see it as an individual. You're always going to get human error in decisions. One person might look at something and say that is not a foul. Another person might say it is a foul.
How as a professional referee can anyone look at that and say that's not a red card or not even a foul?
Well, the fact that it's not a foul, that's outrageous. That is outrageous. And that's why there should be, I don't know, a law in place in football where the referees have to come out and talk after the game. Because why do they get away with it? I can understand that they keep the VAR people anonymous because obviously if they give names and we know just like who the referee is for today, we know who's in the VAR box, you can get all sorts of problems. People could start finding out what clubs they support. It could get very messy. But like you said, mate, take your time, take a look at it. You've got the monitor there. He could go over to it, have a look at it. He's got 2 minutes to decide it. And still, the fact that he hasn't even given a foul, so Liverpool got the ball back in possession, it was outrageous. Outrageous.
I mean, mate, I've got to be honest, that's not the only one. I mean, the rest of the game kind of peters out a little bit. We head into extra time. And I thought this was behind us now. We've seen last season they weren't going to be ruling on fine margins like these for offsides. It was only going to be clear and obvious. So for the life of me, I cannot understand why, that's even, I understand why it's gone because they always check, but how on the pitch that being given as a goal is clear and obvious and constitutes an overturning of the decision? Because one, they haven't even drawn the lines in line, and it's with his shirt sleeve, and you can't score with your shirt sleeve. So this one for me is just, I just don't get it. And I thought these days were behind us with those sort of decisions, but clearly not. I mean, in the stadium, it was hard to tell. I couldn't see because I was down the other end. But I mean, we can't be going back to this again. They changed this because they were saying that they weren't going to be giving like toenails and armpits offside after the farce of last season. Well, here it is again. I mean, I'd love someone to explain why that's offside.
Yeah, I mean, exactly as you put it, the referees don't even know the rules anymore. This is the problem. You can see that. You can actually see the line there. So Van Dijk's foot, the line that they've drawn is actually in line with his Lukaku's elbow. So then you've got the extension of his arm. So the only part of his body that's actually offside is the part of body he can't score with. So by that notion, how is he offside? And you can see that the knees slightly, but then I think Lukaku's knees behind Van Dijk's leading foot there as he goes back. So, and like you said, where's the clear and obvious there? It's not clear and obvious. Therefore, you can't give it as a. It's not. He's not offside in my view. He's not offside from what I'm seeing now. And I'm going to look at it for what 45 seconds. He's got 2 minutes to make that decision. I think he's honestly bottled it because he couldn't give the Liverpool goal. And I think referees, as much as they'll deny it, are in this whole, let's even the camps out. If I give a red card...
they do that, mate. They do. We've heard commentators say it before, ex-pros like Neville and Carragher, like referees have said that they give decisions that they perhaps wouldn't have given because they want to... If they've made a mistake, for example, by awarding a penalty incorrectly, they'll then do the same for the other team to kind of even it out. This is ridiculous. We can't be operating like this. And the fact that, we're down to this level of micro-analysing decisions, that wasn't the point of VAR. The point of VAR was to come in and to correct clear and obvious errors. And as we've said, that is not a clear and obvious error. So, I don't know where we go from here, but something's got to be done. The head of the PGMOL, the head of refereeing or whatever, they need to have a meeting and they need to get their shit together. This officiating in this country is absolutely disgraceful. It is through the floor. There was once upon a time where we had the best referees in the world. We'd always get the global finals. We'd see a high representation of British referees at international tournaments. Mate, this has gone to shit. Honestly, it's a laughing stock. For all the great players and great managers and great product the Premier League is, the officials are non-league level. It is absolutely disgraceful. And it needs to change and something needs to be done about it. And people need to step up and speak up about it. And something has to change because we cannot carry on like this because it will end up costing teams Premier League survival, costing teams trophies, costing teams a lot of money through people's incompetence and not having to take responsibility for mistakes they make. But I don't know what's going to be done about it. But George, game heads into extra time. Again, kind of pretty end to end. Mendy makes a phenomenal save from Van Dijk's header at the end. And we head to the dreaded penalty shootout. Kepa obviously comes on a minute or two before time. Obviously, that was always going to happen. That would have been pre-agreed before the game, whether you think it's right or wrong to make those decisions. At the end of the day, as I said earlier, it's made on statistical evidence, analysis, hours of footage, etc. and whatnot. And that decision would have been made in the best interests of winning the game. And I don't think any Chelsea fans were particularly, obviously not surprised. I don't think they're particularly pissed off to see that change take place. And ultimately, sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. And that's just the way it goes. But George, we get to the penalties, and at this point, it's anyone's game. It's an absolute lottery. But I wasn't prepared for what was about to unfold. All 20 outfield players scoring their penalties. I know it happens, but it doesn't happen often. The quality of the penalties in the shootout was outstanding.
Oh, mate, I had to go to A&E last night. My heart couldn't take it. Seeing every outfield player score a penalty, you just don't see it, do you? And, I almost flip that and think, how on earth have, 20 penalties gone in and a keeper's not made one save or gone the right way one. I think Kepa got maybe a hand
close to Konate's one, and I think that Timo Werner's penalty just went under Kelleher. But other than that, mate, they were nowhere near any of them.
And ironically, it's funny, isn't it? That one that Kepa just missed. I wonder because of Mendy's reach, he makes the save. But I'm not going to argue. I think Kepa I thought it was the right decision to bring him on anyway.
Yeah, 100%.
I know some fans are being a bit critical, but that's incredibly harsh. And an incredible penalty shootout. You've got to say a brilliant end to what was a brilliant final with no goals, but everything else. Even the two disallowed goals we had from Lukaku and Havertz. I know it was miles offside in the end.
That was miles off, yeah.
I couldn't take it. I was up on my feet. It must have been agony in the stands watching that. It must have been going on for about 15 minutes. And credit to all the boys. And I know you want to make special mention to Lukaku because I think, again, for someone like me who gives someone like him an incredible lot of stick, I thought he had one of his better games yesterday when he came on. Obviously scored the goal that was given offside, but a great finish nonetheless. And then the penalty takes some bollocks to do that because he knows that if he misses that, the whole back pages would have forgotten the whole story about Liverpool winning a cup. It would have been about Lukaku done at Chelsea. So some outstanding penalties, mate. And then I think I was gutted, but I wasn't angry at that point because when it gets down to the when it even past the fifth, when it gets past Jorginho and you think, these players don't want to take penalties. Timo Werner was another one I was looking at thinking, what is he going to do here? And when it gets to the keepers, you just think, bloody hell. I think he thought he was taking a goal kick, to be honest, but mate, what can you do?
As the harsh reality of sport is no one probably deserved to lose that final yesterday. No. But sport, there's always a winner and a loser, and someone had to miss in that penalty shootout. And unfortunately for us, it was Kepa, but there's no blame on him whatsoever. It's just one of those things, you can't blame the goalkeeper for missing a penalty. Seriously. I
have to say, I said to our personal group chat that I think the only thing that played in their favour is that we were pretty much taking penalties at the Kop end. That never helped.
Doesn't help.
And the fact, I think if you're going to take penalties, you'd always like to go first, ideally, because you're not chasing then afterwards.
Yeah.
But these are all ifs and buts, really.
Small bits.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I can't fault the effort from the players. Can't fault the penalty shootout. You know, we've talked about the inexcusable misses, but you know, we can be really proud of what happened yesterday at Wembley. We played really, really well, and we came up short. But as we discussed, it's the same kind of fallings that are costing us. And let's just quickly get into some player ratings, mate. We'll rattle through these. Let's start with Edouard Mendy in goal. Fully justified his selection for the final. We've talked about some of his saves earlier, mate. Honestly, for me, this was a 10 out of 10 performance. He was absolutely phenomenal. Probably one of the best I've seen him perform in a Chelsea shirt. The saves he made, the importance of the saves, he was absolutely outstanding.
Yeah, outstanding. I mean, against one of the best teams, if not the best team at the moment in the world. The amount of goals they're scoring. I mean, bashed 6 past Leeds not long ago. I mean, I know it's Leeds, but to make a team like that, you know, and go goalless for, you know, 120 minutes, he'll probably feel a little bit gutted. I know it was pre-planned, obviously, but he would have been a bit gutted. He couldn't be the hero in the penalty shootout. But no, outstanding, mate. For me, it was his best performance in a Chelsea shirt.
Let's quickly bring this up. Big up. Yeah, thanks, RD. We were unlucky yesterday. Mount should have scored. Yeah, agreed with that. Hopefully we win the FA Cup. I mean, that would be nice. We do need to improve our domestic trophy haul because it's been a number of years now since we've actually won a domestic trophy, despite all our kind of European and global success. Yeah. But yeah, George, moving on to the back three, mate. Trevor Chalobah, first game in about 6 to 8 weeks. Played a full 120 minutes, scored from the spot. Had to have 6 stitches after that horrific Naby Keita tackle that we covered earlier. I thought, despite a couple of times being caught out early on by Luis Diaz, I thought, despite all that, Trevor Chalobah played really, really well yesterday. I was very impressed with him, and I'm looking at probably a 7.5 or an 8 out of 10 for his performance. I thought it was really good, and it was a great return to action for him, considering how much football he's missed.
Yeah, I would say 8.5. I thought he was, you know, some of the challenges he made his intent shown very early doors. And like we said, we probably said that Diaz was their best player on the day. And again, he didn't really give him any clear cut opportunities. I know he got past him a few times, but he did keep him fairly quiet. And for someone who's been out for 6 to 8 weeks, he's really become a boy to a man now in that back team.
Moving on to Thiago Silva now. I mean, I don't really know what to say about this guy anymore. You know, it's the same words, the same phrases every week, every game he plays. But by his standards that he's set since he's come to the club, this performance yesterday was absolutely phenomenal. The guy was unbelievable. I mean, just, you know, his clearances off the line, his reading of the game, his blocks, his interceptions, the duels he was winning. It was the perfect performance. Scores his penalty in the shootout. He was absolutely faultless. There was one moment in the first half where I was worried when he went down. The medics came on. I'm thinking, oh, fuck, have we got a repeat of the Champions League final? He has to go off injured. But luckily that wasn't the case. But, mate, honestly, this was a 10 out of 10 performance for me. I thought it was faultless. He couldn't have done anything better.
No. I got him on the back of my most recent shirt for a reason. He's my favourite player at Chelsea at the moment. Probably one of the top in my all-time list already. And it's embarrassing to be on this channel now to actually say when he first came in, I thought it was a bit shit. And I didn't.
Yeah, mate, that's criminal from you.
I just thought, you know, I don't really rate Brazilian defenders. I think they're a bit flash. And PSG, I didn't really. I hate anyone that goes to PSG because I think it's just a plastic club. But no, I'll have the whole humble pie for that one. I don't even need a slice. I'll take the whole lot.
But yeah, no, phenomenal from him yesterday again. And what a signing he's been. And it's a shame he's 37, but he doesn't look like it when he's on the pitch. I mean, moving on to Antonio Rudiger, I thought, again, he was really good yesterday. Him and Alonso, as we touched on earlier, dealt with Mo Salah really well. He was largely anonymous. And Rudiger wished they could just sort this contract out as soon as possible. We'd love him to stay. We want him to stay. Hopefully he wants to stay, which I'm sure he does. But this was another top-notch performance from him again yesterday. And I'll probably say not quite as good as Silva's 10, but I'd give him a strong 9. Yeah,
not quite as good, but, you know, the way they, you know, as we'll get onto Alonso as well, the way they nullified Salah's ability on that side, the right-hand side for them is incredible. And yeah, I mean, we had Darmesh on the show last week, and it's clear that Rudiger is happy at Chelsea, loves Chelsea, but maybe it's a similar situation to Azpilicueta where he's won a lot of trophies already and might want to see a different, at the peak of his powers at the moment, he might, prefer another option. And he's probably just keeping his options open, but we want him to stay. And for the exact reasons of his performance yesterday, he's just an animal on the pitch.
Really is. Moving on to the fullbacks then, George. They've come in for a bit of criticism, to be fair, with Reece James and Ben Chilwell being out. But actually, I thought both of them played really well yesterday, starting with Cesar Azpilicueta. Before going off for his injury, I thought he looked dangerous. He set up a couple of opportunities, defended really well. And this was definitely one of his better games. And I think, to be fair, mate, I'm probably looking at maybe a 7.5 for Aspie. 7.5. I thought he did really well.
Yeah, I thought 7.5 as well. I thought, he's a leader of men. And in those big games is exactly why he's so valued at the club and why he plays those big games, because he's just, again, I use the word, animal, but he's always switched on, always trying to do the best for the club. And, he will be one of those players that's irreplaceable at times when he plays like that.
And moving on to the left-hand side, everyone loves to scapegoat Marcos Alonso, but actually yesterday, fair play to him and credit where it's due. He had a really, really good game, as we touched on, influential in keeping Mo Salah very quiet, got forward well, created opportunities, played a great ball through for that Lukaku goal that was given offside by fractions. And it was a really promising performance. And it showed what quality he does possess. It would be just nice to see that level of performance consistently from him. But really, really good yesterday, and a reminder of what he can bring to this side. I mean, I'm looking at probably a solid 8 out of 10 here. How did you see Alonso's performance?
And I'm slightly different to other Chelsea fans, but I've always been a fan of Alonso. I love Alonso, and I know he's got his frailties going defensively, but it's not an easy job to keep the so-called best player in the world quiet for 120 minutes, and he did just that. I know he had the help with Rudiger, but he was fantastic yesterday, going forward and at the back, and he would be a shoe-in left-back for most, if not all, Premier League sides other than Chelsea. Maybe not Liverpool, but other than that, I think he's honestly that good, mate. I honestly do think so.
What's this? Alonso pocketed Salah. Yeah, no, he did. He kept him very, very quiet, which was obviously very beneficial to us. Moving into the midfield, George, Mr. Big Game player himself, and N'Golo Kante. I thought it was very good yesterday. Played well, covered the pitch well, got forward well, good passing, etc. All the good things that Kante does. I mean, not absolutely outstanding. Definitely not as good as Kovacic yesterday, but I think probably maybe a solid 7 for Kante. How did you see his performance?
Yeah, not his best game, but by his standards. I mean, his standards are very, very high. Did get caught out a few times. Maybe it was a lack of communication where, players were honing in on him, but he still had a great game, didn't he? And if we didn't have him yesterday, I think we would have been found out fairly early. But he wasn't the best out of the two in the midfield yesterday.
And I've got to be honest, mate. When we signed Kovacic on loan, I was thinking, I'm not sure about this guy, and he wasn't great. And then we signed him for 40 million in a transfer ban. I was thinking, oh, fucking hell, what are we doing here? Honestly, this guy is dreadful. But I definitely won't be the only Chelsea fan that thought that. And if people claim they didn't think that, there's definitely some liars. But his transformation at Chelsea has been phenomenal, and he's one of our most important players. And I thought yesterday he was really, really good again. The way he breaks up play, the way he progresses with the ball, just so important to this side, and how he breaks forward from midfield. We haven't got another profile like that. I mean, I know Ruben does break forward from midfield as well, but Kante and Jorginho don't really do that. And it's down to Kovacic to do it. And I thought he was superb yesterday. Really, really good. I think, mate, 8.5, 9 for me for Kovacic. What did you make of him?
Yeah, bossed it. And again, he made, as much praise as Liverpool get for their so-called, this is the best team they've ever had. He made that Liverpool midfield look bang average yesterday. He was really taking control of that midfield. Henderson and the likes, Fabinho couldn't get near him. Just a driving force. And I'm with you, mate. I thought it was an absolute waste of money when he came to Stamford Bridge. A bit of a Real Madrid reject, and he's, outstanding.
And moving on to Christian Pulisic then, obviously started on the right-hand side, not his favoured left. Had that opportunity early on, really good chance. I felt he did okay though. Not amazing, but did okay. Had some nice progressions with the ball, looked dangerous going forward at times. probably say maybe a 6 or a 6.5 for Pulisic. I mean, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I was going to go around the 6 mark. I know we're critical because obviously the front three have got the hardest job because they're the ones who are supposed to score and win you the game, despite everyone else's performance. But again, you just expect more from someone as talented as Pulisic. Had the chance early doors, didn't take it. He did start to phase out the game, didn't create as much as I would have liked. I don't think he was as influential as the other two. And even Werner, when he came on, did possibly, a bit more than Pulisic did. But yeah, again, a frustrating one. But he didn't do badly. But
No.
we expect more.
Yeah, I think a 6 is fair for him.
Yeah.
Moving on to Mason Mount, we spoke about it before. We won't dwell on it too long. You cannot miss opportunities like that in a final. 2 absolute sitters, and he missed both of them, and that's unacceptable. It really is. And yeah, I didn't think his all-round performance was that great either. I've got to be honest, mate. I thought Mount was below average. I mean, you take those misses into account as well. I've got to be honest, mate. I don't like to do it. I think it's about a 2 or a 3 out of 10.
2 or 3?
Mate, it's criminal to miss. Mate, it's criminal to miss those opportunities. You cannot miss those opportunities and expect to get more than a 4 or 5.
I was going to give him a 5 based on, you could say the 5 is he gets the 5 because he created those chances, but he also loses 5 because he was shit at actually taking them.
So really, we're looking at a 3. We're looking at a 3, to be honest.
Well, I think he was halfway in between. I think he did a lot of things to get in those positions. Well, look, you do the rating, but I think that is incredibly harsh. But I understand where you're coming from.
I'll give him 3.5.
Oh, cheers, mate. 0.5 there. Lovely.
Yeah, well, mate, it's not good enough in a final to miss those opportunities. Moving on to Kai Havertz. For whatever reason, can't really find much consistency in the league, but in big cup finals, seems to turn in big performances. And I thought yesterday he was really good. He led the line really well. I thought it was a really accomplished performance. And it shows that there is great potential there, and he could grow into a very good number 9 or a very good forward player, as we do know. And I felt that his game faded a little bit when Lukaku came on, in terms of when he got shunted out to that left-hand side. He wasn't quite as effective as he had been when he was in the middle. But I thought he did really well yesterday, mate. And it was another impressive performance from him. Just if he can find that consistency in the league, then we could be onto something very good here. But yeah, I was very impressed with him. And I think Gary Neville in commentary was impressed with him as well. He was quite critical of a few Chelsea players yesterday, but he was really impressed with Kai Havertz. And I thought Kai was really good, mate. I'm looking at probably an 8 or a 9 for this performance. I thought it was bordering on outstanding.
Yeah, and it's great. I loved, standing up and being counted in that physical battle that he had with those defenders. And, I loved the kind of face-off he had. Can't remember who it was.
I think it was with Harvey Elliott.
Yeah, and I think it was with Trent as well. And, and to be fair, I know he was offside in the end, but he nearly did it again, didn't he? Scoring the big goal in the final. It was well taken. Yeah, and he's made that position his own. And as much as people say about Lukaku, not being in form, is you've got to be doing something pretty special to keep a £100 million player that plays in that position off the bench. So I thought it was a complete performance. I wouldn't say 9 because I don't. 8, yeah, all right, 8.5. I think he was very good. There's still room for improvement there. Yeah. But he, against a Liverpool back line that's just as formidable, I think he did very, very well.
Yeah, no, and I think those ratings there, a lot of them are very high, but it reflects how well we did play yesterday, and we just let ourselves down in the crucial moments. But very promising performance from Chelsea, and I think there's lots to take forward for the rest of the season. But George, just very briefly before we round out, how concerning is it on a domestic level that despite how well we did yesterday, that is now 4 consecutive domestic final defeats, 2 League Cup finals and 2 FA Cup finals. So the last 4 times we've been to Wembley in a domestic final, we've lost every time. And for a team like us, for a club like us that wants to dominate domestically, that's not good enough.
No, and a side that was, maybe 5-10 years ago praised as the team at Wembley, Drogba with all those winning cup final goals and all the rest of it. It's hard to take. It is hard to take because the Leicester one, the Liverpool one, should be winning those. I know 2 of them were penalty shootouts, so you can't really look. We have to put it into context. The fact that was our 4th potential trophy that we could win inside a calendar year, if you like, with the Champions League included. It's pretty special. Where we're consistently making the latter stages of every competition. Unfortunately, yesterday, we lost in a lottery, but we're in. I said to someone else, at least we're in those positions, and more often than not, if you make those positions, your fortune will turn. I also said that out of the 3 that we've played so far, just because of the whole doing it for the first time in the history, I'd probably swap losing the League Cup final for the 2 that we've won, just because I would like the Club World badge. I'd like the fact that we haven't won that before and we've got it. Doesn't mean it's as big as the League Cup, but look, I think you should just be banned from Wembley, mate, because every time you go there, same as me, mate, I'm not allowed there anymore because every time I go there, Chelsea just don't win, even if they play well. So I'm not going to Wembley anymore, mate.
No, mate, hopefully our fortunes can change, and we obviously got the FA Cup. We're back in action again Wednesday night away at Luton. An opportunity to make some more ground in that competition and head towards the latter stages again. So hopefully another Wembley appearance could be on the cards in that competition. But yeah, guys, ultimately it ended in disappointment for Chelsea yesterday. It wasn't to be a 3rd trophy of the season, but there is still plenty to be positive about, plenty to look forward to in the rest of the season. Thank you so much for tuning in live. Really appreciate all of the support. Please make sure you smash like on this video. Please do subscribe to the channel. All the support is appreciated. On the road to 400 subs, almost there now, so please do help us out. The match day vlog from yesterday that I recorded is also out on the channel now, so please do check that out. It was painful putting it together, but it's out there, so please do give that a watch and let me know your thoughts. But yeah, thanks as always, guys. Up the Chelsea, and we'll catch you in the Luton match preview tomorrow. Cheers.